that, I wanted to ask you, we know that these warriors are returning wounded. We know that some have been initiated to a greater degree than others in the field itself. How do you perceive the PTSD that's happening for the returning veterans?
Well, from the archetypal perspective, John and I both reject the pathologizing of the traumatic wound. Warriors risk their lives for the rest of us, and warriors take wounds for the rest of us. They inevitably take wounds in service as they're facing danger, and if they're in the military, of course, as they're putting others in danger. What we call PTSD today is part of the human inheritance. It's been around forever, for as long as humanity has been here and danger has been here. The response that we call PTSD has been here. However, throughout most of history, it has not been rendered a psychological disability that needs to be separated from the rest of the society and treated by specialists. Rather, it's had many interpretations throughout the ages. PTSD, it appears in the Bible, it appears in mythology, it appears in historical records from ancient times. Indigenous cultures around the world also knew of this wound, though they gave it spiritual names. So, for example, among the Lakota people, it was called Nari Mapeapi, which means the spirits left him. It was being spiritually bereft, and their medicine people worked to restore the warrior's spirit. It was direct, purposeful, archetypal, and communal support and intervention so that the full warrior spirit could be restored. John and I treat PTSD as such an archetypal condition. We treat it as a portal, a doorway into cosmic dimensions when we are in the war zone or fighting a fire or in the inner cities struggling against violence. We are in an altered state of reality, an altered state of consciousness, and we are in ultimate conditions. We are facing life and death, good and evil, and our raw human nature, as well as our higher functions, in their basic elemental condition. Most people, most of the time, are not living in those ultimates. We teach that the traumatic situation itself is an ultimate and a cosmic condition, and whenever an ordinary human being enters into it, they are transformed. They are transformed by being there. John is right in saying that our warriors, as we call them, our first responders, military and veteran people, they don't want to be called warriors. They don't want to be called heroes. And they tell us over and over and over again that those who are farther out on the front lines in greater danger, or those who have suffered wounding or paid with their lives, are the real heroes and the real warriors, and the rest of us don't live up to that. Nonetheless, the archetypal conditions of a traumatic situation transform the person. So, for example, during World War II, the journalist and war correspondent Ernie Pyle wrote back from the front lines. He was with the soldiers on the front lines all the way through the war until he was finally killed near the end in the Pacific. He wrote back from the front lines, "War makes strange, giant creatures out of all of us little routine men who inhabit the planet." He said, and warriors say, we are ordinary human beings who have been put in extraordinary conditions and asked to do extraordinary things. So there is a transformational process that demands the most and the best of us so that we can respond to the traumatic situation. And that transforms us into what we in depth psychology call heroes, someone who is on the psycho-mythic journey to warriorhood.